My name is André Alipio. Nice to be with you today. Considering we've got just a few people here, so I'd like to know your names. What is your name? Olivia, right, good. Nice to meet you, Olivia. Julio, good. Tanya and Sandra, all right. Do you all teach in English schools? It is state schools? What is it, the teaching you do? Right, that's Vanessa, right, sorry, good. Vanessa, who's one of the partners here of Applied Language Consultants. I'm going to introduce us in a minute, all right? Right, so, good, thank you. What's your name? Fahi. Did I say it correctly? Fahi. Yeah, okay, good, right. And that's Kyla, right. So, do you all teach in English institutes? You teach in state schools? What is it? What is the teaching that you do? You're not a teacher yet. All right, you intend to be one. Yes. Oh, that's good, right? So you came to the right talk, I suppose. The other ones?
I'm retired and I gave up. 14 years.
All right, and then decided to stop.
Yes.
Good. I mean, bad. I don't know if it's good or bad, but all right, must be good for you. Right. What about you? Private teacher too. Right. Kyla, what kind of teaching do you do? Right. Is it here in São Paulo that you used to teach?
Yes.
And Julio teaches in São Paulo. But Kyla? Great. And you? No, but... Right. You're just teaching privately now? You're not teaching at the school? Okay, right. And you're not teaching yet? Right. And Fahi? All right. So it's good that all of you, that we've got 5 teachers here and 1 teacher to be, because 35. All right. All right, so after 35 years, it's okay to give up. I've been teaching for 32 myself, and I'm thinking about quitting too. No, just kidding. Sorry. Brasilia. Right. Good. All right. So the idea of this talk, in fact, it was supposed to take. I prepared that for 2 hours. I'm going to try and make it shorter to fit 1 hour and 30 minutes. But the idea of this talk is to give you an idea of what it means to develop professionally in the area called ELT, or English Language Teaching. Some of you probably have been doing a lot, or have done a lot already. Some of you still have plans ahead, as you probably discussed in the first session today, the dreams and what you'd like to do. And what happens is, for teachers, it's very important to have this kind of, to think about their career in advance. I can tell you that from my personal experience. When I started teaching 32 years ago, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? 32 years ago. There was no such talk. And let me tell you this story, because I think it's in a way it's going to help you see what I mean by plan in advance. I had this friend. I was very young, 17, 18 years old, and I had this friend who started teaching at a school. And I thought, wow, that's cool. If he can teach, I can teach too. Right? And then I decided not to go to any school. And what happened was, I ran into my first brick wall, which was, and there were 3 main brick walls in my life, in my ELT life. This was the first one. When I decided to teach, I decided to teach for fun. But I had no idea exactly what to do with those students, and I got some students, 2 or 3 of them. I said, wow, so what next? And then I selected a book. At that time, books were not very much available as they are nowadays. And I said, okay, let's do it. And it was disaster. Then I said, okay, all right, how do I go through this wall? So the first thing I did was, okay, let me do the same as my friend did. Let me go to school and get trained. And then restart, and that's what I did. I went to the same school as my friend. I got the initial teacher training. And then after the teacher training, I started teaching lots of lessons. And I thought the world of myself. I said, wow, I am fantastic. And that was my second brick wall. Because I soon understood something was wrong. After some time, I went to another friend of mine who's got a school somewhere else. He had a school somewhere else. And then I decided to say hello. And then I decided to see a lesson of his. I had been teaching for a while. What's her name? Larissa. My name is André Larissa. And afterwards, let me see who... Julia is going to introduce everyone to you. I'm just kidding, Julia. The idea was, I went to see this friend of mine teaching. And I compared that to the teaching that I was doing. I said, oh my, I suck. I'm a horrible teacher. This teaching going on here is so much better than the one I do in the school I'm teaching. And then that was especially important because it told me something that at that time, it was very new to me, and in fact to most teachers, because we started talking about professional development more heavily in the last 20 years, right? But that was a very important thing because it showed me that something should have been done to show people at that time teaching that they had a way to go, that they had to follow a certain kind of path in order to become competent. Some of these concepts then started, in a way, they started being part of who I am. And I wish I had the talk like this 30 years ago, which would probably have guided me. I would have suffered a lot less than I did. If I can share these with you today, I hope that by the end of this, the next 90 minutes, you will understand better what professional competence is based on, number one. Number two, you understand the concepts of training. Sure. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to find the right... There is no sound. It's only, it's only my voice. But I'm going to speak up, right? You're going to try and... let's see if I can help you understand it better. The concepts of training, development, and education, which I think are still a little bit of a blur in most teachers and trainers' minds. So it's always good for us to have these in terms of the plans that you have for your own career. And also think about where you stand in terms of professional competence and professional development. Finally, analyze possible ways. I'll try and suggest one or two things that you can do in order to keep it going. I mean, understanding that this is an ongoing process and it cannot stop, right? It doesn't matter where you are in terms of the career that you have been developing. So far, so good. Right, I'll be talking here in case you want to say something or have questions. Please stop me. Otherwise, I'll just go on and on. Right? Wonderful. Look, I will need your help. Do you have mobile phones that we can? If you don't have one, you can just sit together with somebody who's got one, because. Here in Disal, we have a network you can use. I think it's Eventus. Thank you. And the password is Eventus at 2016. Eventus at or arroba 2016. So just see if you can get connected first. When you are connected, can you open any browser that you generally use and type this address, but just be careful, it's case sensitive. So if it's, right? If it's capital, then it must be kept as capital. If it's lower, then it's lower letter. Did you find it? All right. This is, yes, all right. It's going to wait because I haven't sent you the questions yet. Are you in? Yes, good, good, good. That's it. I need to know a little bit about you and what you think about one or two things. I'm covering that on purpose now, all right? Let me just send you the first question. Can you see it?
Yes.
Although you might like to click all of them, you can only choose one, your favorite, and vote. Will you? Did you vote? Wow. Well, now it should be. For some reason, it doesn't show. Where is Henrique when I need him? Yes. It's okay, it's okay. I just need to find how to... Because I'd like to share with you the results. Right, but I can already tell you that 7 people voted, and it's 100% a profession. Wonderful. This is good because, yes, profession in this case is a superordinate term for all of the others. All right, so as I was saying, profession, 100%, that's fantastic because, yes, this is, in terms of professional development, teaching, profession should be the superordinate term for all of the others. It is an art. It is a job. It is a cultural practice in terms of teaching communicative language. But there is no right or wrong for this question, but profession is considered the superordinate term under which all of the others come, right? So, again, for the questions you're going to help me with today, there is no right or wrong, but it's good for us to discuss that a little bit, because this is the basis of what we are going to define professional competence. Now, if you think about that, there are 3, basically speaking, when you give training courses for teachers, or when we have teachers inside professional development projects in schools, what we generally think in terms of the definition of professional competence. You know those workshops, how to become a more effective teacher, and things of the kind. They are very nice, they help a lot, they give us ideas, but what sometimes happens is that teachers do not have the real perspective of development in terms of a career, in terms of the next step, in terms of what should I be doing next to become a more effective teacher. Now, professional competence is generally based on 3 areas. The first one is instructional design, and this has to do with the teaching itself, the skills, materials, the methods, the school. So what is it that I need to know as a teacher to be able to say, okay, I am well prepared to deal with the design of the instruction of a language in that school or with my private students? This is something, at my company, what we do is every year we ask teachers, we run polls and ask teachers what is their understanding of instructional design. And it's very difficult to get a teacher who knows what it is, especially because they have never been exposed to this kind of training. And this is very important that you now do know what it is, because it's part of it should impact your choice somehow. The second area is behavior as a teacher, and attitude, and insight. So all of this is a reasonably new area associated with development, but it's an important one too. We just don't teach using techniques. We don't teach only based on skills. Part of what we transmit to students is who we are and the behavior that we show. And there is a third one, which in a way we tend to take care of instinctively, but it's not exactly something that should be instinctive to teachers, which is knowledge. Ask me a question. Any question about this? Knowledge of what? Right, language is one of them. Good, all right. All right, good. Let's keep this question a little bit longer here so that maybe by the end we can come back here and close the talk. Now, before we move on and talk a little bit about training development and education, I need your help again. Can you go back to the mobiles? Now I'm going to cover that on purpose. Oops, sorry. My mistake. Just a sec. I'm going to restart it. Just a second. All right, let's see if you can. Do you see the next one? Yes? Can you try that? In your opinion, what does becoming an effective teacher get closer to? Just one, yes. I know you're tempted to tick all of them, but it's only one. Thank you. Do you all have it? Great. Let me share the results then. Knowing about teaching techniques and skills and materials, which is connected with the first thing that we discussed, right? Instructional design. Then nobody chose knowing the language and about the language, which is more connected with the other one, knowledge. And then the other two received probably 1 vote each. Knowing about learning, how people learn, and changing your practice, which is one difficult thing to do, right? And this is maybe the very nature of development. The fact that little by little you have to change your practice based on the things you're exposed to. Courses, workshops, seminars, the kind of teaching you do, feedback from lessons observed. All of these things need to help you change as a teacher, and change is a very difficult thing to do. It's difficult to sort of restruct your mindset. Instead of having a more fixed one, changing that into a more flexible mindset. People who do, for example, teachers who have been teaching a while and afterwards they decide to do a course like CELTA. I don't know if are you aware of CELTA? Initial teacher training, teaching qualification by Cambridge. There is a certain level of resistance because they have been doing a kind of teaching and then they are exposed to something new and they've got to accommodate all of these in their inner repertoire. And this is difficult. It's difficult when somebody tells you, look, what you do is okay, but there is a better, more effective, or whatever way to do this. So let's see if you can get rid of this for a while and try the new thing. Now, this is part of development. We do not develop if you're not exposed to something new, understand how helpful that can be, and accommodate that in your bag of tricks, so to say, right? So this is something that takes us back to the ideal or the idea of training, development, and education. Think about that. Think about who has never done a training course here? Have you done any? No, all right. No, what I mean is that at all. So just one person hasn't yet because you haven't started your career yet, right? Good. So all of you have done at least one training course, which, what was it offered by the school? Who offered that? All right, but what I mean is that they were given as a course. It was not a workshop. It was not a session. It was a course. Good. Anybody else? Do you remember how long it was? 6 months. 2 years. All right. Good. All right. So the idea is training is very important. But the development is as important as training. And the difference is, ta-da, any ideas? Okay, let me show you something. If you think about training has to do with the knowledge of skills, the knowledge of techniques, method, approach, materials. Who has done, apart from Kyla, who was my CELTA in the past, who has done, any other CELTA qualified teachers here? No? All right. Now, if you think about courses like, not yet. If you think about courses like CELTA, CELTA is in the middle here, but it's one very strong component of CELTA is the knowledge of teaching. What skills do you need? What techniques do you need? What do you need to know about the method and approach? What do you need to know in terms of materials? What do you need to know about the students? So that you become, your decisions about teaching become better informed in the future. this is part of training. But there is also, when you think about development, it's not exactly knowledge of teaching, but your behavior as a professional. So, awareness, attitude, understanding, and especially insight. That means while you're teaching, and this is, you tell me if I'm wrong, isn't it true that every now and then, in a certain lesson, something happens which gives you an idea about the thing that you have just done, and say, oops, I don't know where it comes from, but if I had done this differently, I'd probably have got this and that. Now, especially for teachers who are beginning or who haven't begun yet their professional development, this may be a very important thing. Who offers this one? Generally, not always, but generally, schools. Where does this one come from? Good, wonderful. Perfect. This one is very important, but it's given as a tool, as a solution. So it's more like, okay, you're going to get trained to deal with this pack of solutions so that you can meet students and be prepared. Wonderful. This is amazing, and this is very important. What happens with this development? It's problem-based. So the idea is not to provide you with the solutions, but to provide you with a possibility to have questions, doubts, to think about the problems that might appear. So all of this is, and again, this is generated by someone else, which most of the, I hope, that the ones that you have done come from recognized bodies like Cambridge or Trinity, any very important body like that. This is more, again, like you, thinking about your teaching and thinking about the problems you're going to face. This comes from the outside. Top, down. Being down where we are as teachers, right? As opposed to the next one, which is from the inside. So I get my small universe and I make it shine so that it somehow hits the top, and then the questions in a way echo, and then more people will find the same questions and discuss the same issues. This is all development. Now, this is generally compulsory, isn't it? Depending on where you're going to teach, you need to go through training. And then for you to start teaching at a certain school, you've got 20 hours of... Do you remember how many hours you had in the first training course you did? Any school you taught? Mine was 45 hours. I almost died. Because 45 hours of teacher training for somebody who had never done any teacher training before. It was initial teacher training. But then little by little, I understood that it was very important for me to cover all of this. The 1 month of teacher training that I had to do. Right. This is generally, okay, voluntary. That means if it comes from the inside, it's inner regulated, self-regulated. You should be aware of this. One risk that teachers looking for professional development cannot take is comfort. The fact that you go day by day doing the same thing without putting a finger on things, without being critical of what you do, without asking questions and generating problems. This is the very basis of development. So generally, training courses are like one-off. 1 a year, twice a year in a school. On the other hand, development is ongoing. It happens every day. It happens with your kids. Who's got kids here? How many kids have we got? 1? That's enough, I suppose, right? That's a lot of work already. Right, kids do that with us. I mean, I don't have kids, but I see my friends kids, and they do test you all the time. It's not like one off and we're fine. No, it's all the time. It's like development. We're always developing. This is product oriented. So if you do a training course, it's because they want you to teach like this. This is the framework. If you do a course which also has training like the CELTA, sorry about this, it's because they're going to show you the backbones, and this is very important. It's not the only thing which is important, but it's very important because the other one is process. Sorry. It's process oriented. That means, what do I take with me as I ask the questions? What do I take with me as I try to think of my practice? And then try to discover a little bit the teacher you can become if you are not that teacher yet. So, sometimes I make it sound a little bit romantic, and it is for me because I'm in love. I have always been in love with this, but it's not easy at all. This is back-breaking, and that sometimes you feel tired of paying so much attention to all the aspects that involve development. Right. Based on that, 2 more questions for you. Back to your mobile. Just a sec. There, first one. See if you have it. Not for you to get influenced. I just have 6 votes. All right, 6. Are you voting too? Ah, good. Right. So how you worry about your professional development? Fantastic. All of you said frequently. Just one said sometimes. Good. But I would be very worried if that had been rarely. Sorry? If that had been rarely or never. So this is a huge first step for you, right? It's probably the reason why you are here on a Friday at 4 o'clock, trying to get to terms with this kind of information and trying to become more professional or thinking about your professional development. One more question, let's try. So, based on what we discussed, doing CELTA courses, participating in workshops, and suggesting that your school start a professional development program. These are respectively. Now we have a wrong or right answer, right? Yes, I just have 5. All right, now I have 6. Okay. So that is tricky, in fact. And I'll tell you why. Doing CELTA, as I said before, I sort of anticipated that, is in the middle. It has a lot of training, but it also starts teachers thinking about the student. Behavior, attitude. So CELTA is a little bit of both, although there is a very training-oriented content. Right? Participating in workshops like this. Who sent you here today? Did anybody send you here today? Are you forced to be here? Did your school say if you do not go there? No, of course not. So This comes from the inside or the outside?
Inside.
So this is development. This is a developmental tool that you are making use of. And asking the school to run a professional development program. Again, the name says this is development. So in fact, it is more like this, right? The first one, training, development, development. Wonderful. Now, the question that you might want to ask, you probably will, is if you look at the top, saying, okay, this is training, development, or education? We talked about training and development, so the question is, where is education, right? In terms of teaching, or better, teacher education. Because then it gets bigger, and things start getting bigger by the hour here. So, education, in fact, again, it's a kind of superordinate term. It encompasses training and development. So both